Well, it is now time for my Week 11 picks of the 2020 NFL season, as last week I went 11-3, which was nice, my third best week of the year. Finally, I mean, look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight weeks of like 8 and 9. I've never had a stretch of being this bad 5 weeks in a row. That is pretty sad. At least I finally got over the winning mark for once, since I almost got there last week, but no, the Sunday night, Monday night games did not go my way. And of course, here's the regular season stands and the playoff stands at the season today. In the AFC, the Steelers had the bye, Ravens at Chiefs, Dolphins at Bills, and Raiders at Colts. And in the NFC, it's the Packers with the bye, with Seahawks at Saints, Rams at Cardinals, and Buccaneers at Eagles. And my Super Bowl pick right now is Steelers beating the Eagles in their rematch 10 years later. But now let's get to my picks, as it starts off with Thursday night, a huge one tonight, as the Cardinals are at the Seahawks. The Cardinals won the last two. The Seahawks haven't beaten them since 2019 and 2018 when they host them, as this is the NFC West on the line for now, as the Cardinals, what a game that was against the Bills. It looked like the Bills were going to dominate. The Cardinals made that comeback. Bills took the lead with 34 seconds left, and then the Cardinals, Texans, I bet you regret trading away DeAndre Hopkins now. What a catch that was. That was insane. As the Cardinals beat their win total from last year as well. And the Seahawks, like I said all year. Not only did I say this all year, I said this all last year too. Literally the only thing that team is Russell Wilson. And so too, 5-0, now they've gone 1-3. And they're possibly on the verge of being out of the playoff picture right now if things don't change. That team is just offense. You see their defense, they have the worst offense in yards allowed and passing yards allowed. Only their run defense is elite, but that's because no one needs to run on them. And of course, they better hope that run defense works well, even though it's fake, because they have to go up against the number one rushing offense in the league in the Cardinals. And that offense is really good. So I'm sure this game, like the last time a few weeks ago, is going to be an offensive shootout. But you know what? I'm going to pick the Cardinals for this. Because remember, the Cardinals are 4-1 when they visit the Seahawks in the last 5 years. In fact, since 2013, they've lost two times since 2013. Just 2 times. That's how frequently the Seahawks choke against the Cardinals. And the momentum is just not on our side right now, so I'm picking the Cardinals to get the sweep. Then we get to Sunday action, as it's the Titans at the Ravens for the first time since 2014. Our divisional round matchup from last year's playoffs. As the Ravens look to get revenge, the Titans haven't beaten them since 2017. This is incorrect. The Ravens have the winning streak right now, in the regular season at least. The Titans haven't beaten them since 2017, and they haven't beaten them in Baltimore since 2008 in the regular season. Remember, regular season going by. So the Titans, they got their asses pretty much kicked by the Colts. And the Ravens, that was embarrassing how they played against the Patriots, and they got smoked. That's pretty embarrassing. That was more of a spanking. Very, very bad. You see their stats. Neither team's stats looking really good. The only saving grace for the Ravens is, hey, they at least have one of the elite defense in the league. And I'm sure they would love nothing more than to get revenge on the Titans for that thrashing they took in the divisional round last year. This game I was so unsure about for most of the year, because especially since the early good start for the Titans they had, I was thinking maybe they would prove that last year was not a fluke and they actually could beat the Ravens again. But the way they've been struggling at their 5-0, just like the Seahawks, even though the Ravens are struggling, I trust that defense more. So I actually think the Ravens will get their revenge. But I won't be surprised if the Titans win it. And it's the Lions at the Panthers for the first time since 2014, as the Lions trying to beat the Panthers for the first time since 2017. No, the Panthers are trying to beat the Lions for the first time since 2017, my mistake. And the Lions trying to beat the Panthers in Charlotte for the first time since 1999. So the Lions tried to beat the Lions as usual. Huge lead on the football team. Oh, wait, you choked it. And then they got that last second field goal to manage to win it. So they got their best, they've improved from this record from last year so far. Meanwhile, the Panthers, now they've lost 5 in a row, and they got thrashed by the Buccaneers last week. Wasn't even close, as the team has been falling apart after that free game winning streak that near the earlier in the year. Remember that? As their defense is in the shit, which looks like it could be a good opportunity for the Lions to, hey, maybe win it and get the 5-5. But I don't trust the Lions. I'm picking the Panthers still for this. Maybe the Lions could prove me wrong and continue the losing streak for the Panthers and actually get the 5-5, but I don't trust them to do it. Then it's the Patriots at the Texans for the second year in a row, as the Texans won the last one. Patriots haven't beaten them since 2018 and 2015 down in Houston in the regular season. So the Patriots now won 2 in a row. Impressive victory against the Ravens too. Defense still okay, but that offense, other than that Russian offense, really bad. They need to turn that around badly. And the Texans, I'm trying to remember off the top of my... Oh yeah, they lost that defensive effort to the Browns. That's really bad. As you see, after that loss to the Browns, their stats are just horrendous. They're literally horrendous. They have the worst run defense in the league too. And we saw what Nick Chubb do. Can you imagine what Cam Newton will do to them? And the Patriots? So I'm actually going to pick the Patriots in the rematch to give the Texans their first non-winning season since 2017. Then it'll be the Steelers at the Jaguars for the first time since 2018 as the Steelers try to go 10-0 for the first time ever. As the Steelers won the last one, the Jaguars haven't beaten them since 2017 and 2006 when they host them. So the Steelers destroyed the Bengals to get their first winning season since 2018 and continue their best season start so far. And the Jaguars continuing to lose. 8 losses in a row, on the verge of getting their third straight losing season, as they lost a close one to the Packers. I'll give them credit for that, for at least being competitive. Now, I know you're looking at the stats. 9-0, 1-8. One of the best defenses in the league, one of the worst offenses and defenses too. The Steelers should win this, right? Yeah, but don't forget, the last few games the Jaguars have been close with them. They beat them twice, remember, in 2017. And in 2018, they almost beat them. And the Steelers, as we all know, as we saw a few weeks ago against the Cowboys, they always struggle against bad teams that they should win. So, I will not be surprised if the Jaguars actually pull off the upset and give the Steelers their first loss. But I'm still going to pick the Steelers for this. But I will not be surprised whatsoever if the Jaguars win. I'll be happily mocking and gloating the Steelers next week if they do lose to them. Alright, so then it's the Falcons at the Saints. As the Saints won the last game, they haven't beaten the Falcons since 2018 in New Orleans, though. As the Falcons have won 2 in a row, destroyed the Broncos last time out. And then the Saints beat the 49ers last week, got the revenge from last year's game. But of course, Drew Brees is not playing these next 2 to 3 weeks. I have no idea who's going to start. Famous Winston? I can't remember the other quarterback's name. But this will be interesting because remember, the Falcons destroyed the Saints last year when they hosted them. That was like one of the biggest upsets of the year. And they're on a roll. And hey, Matt Ryan, I think I trust more than Jameis Winston or whoever else. So I'm almost tempted to maybe pick the Falcons in an upset. But knowing the Falcons, they'll probably take a lead, choke it, and let the Saints get it. So I'm going to still pick the Saints to win it. Then it'll be the Bengals at the football team for the first time since 2012. As remember, they tied last time they played in London. I remember covering that too in 2016 when I first started the series. So the Bengals haven't won since 2012. The football team hasn't beaten them since 1991. And they haven't beaten them, host them, since 1985 when they actually were in DC. So the Bengals got destroyed by the Steelers. And the football team, oh my God, they choked. I mean, they were getting destroyed by the Lions. Then they made the comeback, but they couldn't seal it. Typical football team. So, of course, who would win this is up to anyone's guess, but I'm probably going to pick the Bengals for this. I trust Burrow and the Bengals, especially since they had a lot more closer games than I do the football team to get it. Then we get to the 4 p.m. games. Starting off with a big one that got flexed up to 4, as the Packers are at the Colts for the first time since 2012. As the Colts won the last 2, the Packers haven't beaten them since 2008, and they haven't beaten the Colts on the road since 1974 when they were in Baltimore, for God's sake. They've never beaten the Colts in Indianapolis. As the Packers barely beat the Jaguars. That was actually surprising. I guess the Packers are starting to get into the moments where maybe they're like the 2019 team all over again. Meanwhile, the Colts, very impressive victory against the Titans. Thanks to that defense. They have one of the elite defenses still, but that offense is a little bit suspect. Now, this will be one hell of a challenge and interesting to see. Could the Colts defense actually stop Aaron Rodgers? It could go either way, possibly. But the main thing would be, could Phillip Rivers and that Colts offense do good against the pretty solid Packers defense? I'm not sure about that. But you know what? After seeing the Packers struggle to beat the terrible Jaguars last week, and the Colts spanked the Titans, I'm actually going to pick the Colts to actually get the upset, maybe. Yeah, I think the Colts could get it, especially since they never lost to the Packers, hosting them in Indianapolis. Let's see if they'll continue that trend, as I'm going to pick the Colts to get it. Then it'll be the Cowboys. That record is incorrect. Cowboys at the Vikings for the first time since 2016, as the Vikings won the last one. The Cowboys haven't beaten them since 2016, that Thursday night game. As the Cowboys lost, I'm trying to remember. I already forgot who they freaking played, for God's sake. That's how terrible my memory has been recently. But I know they lost, and probably pretty badly. Meanwhile, the Vikings, hey, they've won 3 in a row. They're right there, still in the mix. They're third place, too. They're not that far off a win and a Bears loss. No, if they win tonight, win on Sunday, they're second place that division. Especially if the Packers lose to the Colts, they'll only be 2 games back. It's still going to be very difficult for them to make the playoffs, but the odds are still right in their favor after they beat the Bears. And you know what? Of course, the Cowboys, look at their stats offensively after, 4 or 5 weeks without Dak, and they're still pretty solidly in the top tiers of the offense. That shows how good Dak was for them. But the defense continues to suck really, really badly. And the Vikings have turned it around quite a bit to win 3 in a row. I'm going to pick the Vikings to get this, just like they beat the Cowboys last year. Then it'll be the Dolphins at the Broncos. For the first time since 2014, the Dolphins won the last one. The Broncos haven't beaten them since 2014. And the Dolphins haven't beaten the Broncos in Denver since 2008. So the Dolphins, they've now won 5 in a row as they beat the Chargers. And the Broncos got destroyed by the Falcons. Again, not surprised whatsoever. The Dolphins are looking good, although that offense is a little bit concerning. They're not getting a lot of yards, but they're getting a lot of points. Defense is a little suspect too. But you know what? Although the Dolphins are on the roll and the Broncos are bad, I'm actually going to pick the Broncos in an upset because I don't see the Dolphins winning 6 in a row. Something's got to give eventually. They've beaten their win total from last year, but something's going to have to give. They can't keep this up for longer. So I'm going to pick the Broncos actually to beat the Dolphins in an upset. Then it'll be the Jets at the Chargers for the first time since 2014, as the Jets try to avoid 0-10 for the first time ever. Chargers won the last 3. The Jets haven't beaten the Chargers since 2011, and they haven't beaten them on the road since 2002. As the Jets were on their bye, as I almost predicted, they almost beat the Patriots, just as I predicted they would, but they couldn't seal it, of course. They have their 5th straight losing season. And the Chargers, of course, this time they got spanked by the Dolphins. There was no comeback they had to make or blown lead or anything. They just got spanked pretty much. Now for Jets, if they lose and 3 teams at least win 7 games, so if they lose and Dolphins, Ravens, Browns, Titans, Colts, and Raiders, at least 3 of them win a 7th game, they'll be eliminated from the playoffs for the 5th year in a row. They are on the verge, but they're still into the playoff race, but it's not looking good for them. And of course, one of the worst offense in the league, their defense is crap. They're going up against Justin Herbert and the Chargers. If they don't choke, I'm going to pick the Chargers to get it. I mean, who else am I going to pick? I can't really trust the Jets. But then again, like I said, you can't trust the Chargers because they keep choking leads. So you never know what will happen. Then it'll be Sunday night, a big one in the AFC West, as the Chiefs are at the Raiders. The Raiders won the last one. The Chiefs haven't beaten them the Raiders haven't beaten them, host them since 2017, and the Chiefs were they on their bye this last week, or was it, they were on their bye, I think, when they beat the Panthers barely, and the Raiders got that really destructive beating they delivered the Broncos last week, because I was incorrect, the Broncos got destroyed by the Raiders last week, as they've now won, 3 in a row, or 4 in a row, or something like that. Although their stats aren't looking like the most impressive, hey, 6-3 is still 6-3. They're in the playoffs at the season today, and they did give the Chiefs, remember, their only loss this year. So the Chiefs should take them seriously, because if the Raiders beat them again, they have the ultimate tiebreaker, and they're only a game back. But I'm going to pick the Chiefs to get this in the rematch. I'm sure they probably will. And hey, I guess I won't be surprised if the Raiders do beat them again. And then we get the Monday night, a big one in the NFC, as the Rams are at the Buccaneers for the first time since 2016. Buccaneers won the last one. Rams haven't beaten them since 2016, and the Buccaneers haven't beaten them in Tampa since 2010. I remember that comeback game they had. So the Rams embarrassed the Seahawks last week, as they're hanging in there. I thought they were going to struggle this year, but they're hanging in there with surprisingly one of the elite defenses in the league, my mistake. Although I think that's more because of their bye recently, which inflates their defensive stats. And the Buccaneers, after that terrible game they had against the Saints, they rebounded by destroying the Panthers as they have one of the elite offense. And despite that incredible run, I can't remember who had that 98-yard run, the Buccaneers are still 30th in the league in rushing. That's still pretty bad. And that can maybe cause problems for them later if they have to deal with the Rams' possibly good defense. But I'm going to pick the Buccaneers to finally win in 10 years down in Tampa and get the revenge. To get their first non-losing season since 2016. So those are my picks for Week 11. And I believe the Jaguars are in the same boat as the Jets. If they lose to Steelers and a couple other teams win a couple games, because the Dolphins have the tiebreaker, Titans have the tiebreaker for the moment. No, they didn't play the Browns in, wait, did they think? No, I don't think they played the Browns yet. So, Jaguars might still be okay for another week, even if they lost. But those are my picks for Week 11. I cannot wait for Cardinals at Seahawks tonight. As my picks, Cardinals over the Seahawks, Ravens over the Titans, Panthers over the Lions, Patriots over the Texans, Steelers over the Jaguars, the Saints over the Falcons, Bengals over the football team, Colts over the Packers, Vikings over the Cowboys, Broncos over the Dolphins, Chargers over the Jets, Chiefs over the Raiders, and Buccaneers over the Rams. So see you guys next time for Week